How goes it, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Blair's Anything Goes. Today's subject matter is going to be called Gentrification in the Midwest. Now, you always hear about the gentrification that's going on the East Coast, going on the West Coast. I did a video a couple of weeks ago about gentrification in the South, places like Miami, Atlanta, Houston, New Orleans, etc. And even Nashville are being gentrified right now in the South. So no part of the United States is immune from gentrification. So today I'm going to talk about areas throughout the Midwest. And I know there are multiple areas, but for this video, I'm just going to stick to 3 specific areas. And I'm going to start with, obviously, Cincinnati, Ohio. We know that gentrification has an upside and a downside, which entails revitalizing downtrodden areas, quote unquote, where the cost of living is low because of high crime, lack of jobs, lack of demand. You have a lot of vacant properties, etc. Because it's not even just crime that will drive the home prices to go down in a specific area, but it's if properties are vacant for years and years and nobody's even living there, nobody's paying property taxes on it, then there's just no value and all that good stuff. So once the value of an area goes up, the cost of the area goes up. That's just how it goes. That's the gift and the curse of success for a specific area. So meaning the people who have had roots in a particular community for decades upon decades are usually pushed out because they can no longer afford to live there. Now, does it happen to everybody? No. It's easier to say everybody's being pushed out. A lot of times it happens. A lot of times it doesn't happen. Certain people get pushed out. Some people even get bought out. It's like, hey, somebody offer somebody $50,000 to $100,000 cash for a property, and they're like, it ain't that serious. I'll take the money and run. And they go live in another part of the city, or they just move to another part of the state, or they just move to another country or a part of the United States. It's just just depending on the person's mindset, where they're at in life, and all that good stuff. So this isn't a doom and gloom area about gentrification. I know a lot of it is messed up, but hey, when you live in the United States, it's all about capitalism. It's all about winners and losers and making money. And whether it's, I'm not going to debate whether it's right or not, because we all have to play the money game, and we got to play the money game in a specific way. If you don't know that in 2019, because we're almost basically in 2020, you never will know that. So that's just, there's no other way to put it. So, but anyways, I digress. Now, zip codes in areas that are called over the Rhine in Cincinnati. This is actually interesting because, I've never been to Ohio. I think I landed there one time at having a layover. Over the Rhine, Cincinnati has been receiving high spikes in rent and high prices to where generational families can, for the most part, no longer afford to live there. Prices in Cincinnati is about $144,000 when it comes to buying a property. Now, if you live in expensive areas like New York and the DMV, Los Angeles, San Francisco, you probably be like, hey man, that's a great price. But Midwest, different lifestyle, salaries are usually lower. The demand isn't as high when it comes to high paid employees and professionals compared to other parts of the United States. Not to say that they don't have high paid employees, but usually your average people can live off a different kind of salary compared to the East Coast and the West Coast. So Cincinnati's home values have gone up actually 7.8% over the past year, and Zillow predicts that they will rise for about 2.3% within the next year. So hey, obviously Cincinnati is doing something great. So hey, keep up the good work, whatever you're doing. The median list price per square foot in Cincinnati is about $134, which is higher than the Cincinnati metro area of $125. So the median price of homes currently listed in Cincinnati is about $221,000, while the median price for homes that sold is about $164,000. So it's all a numbers game. It's all give and take, depending on the house you want, where you're going to buy it, all that good stuff. Now, the average rent for an apartment in Cincinnati, one's about $978 a month, a 4% increase actually, compared to the previous year when the average rent was about $944. Studio apartments obviously can be the smallest apartments that you can live in. are considered the most affordable for one bedroom compared to one bedrooms, or closer to the average. While 2 bedroom apartments and 3 bedroom apartments offer obviously more space, but obviously more space equals more money. That's just how the economic game goes, and it's all good. So prices though for at least 2 to 3 bedroom apartments are ranging from between 11 to 1,500, even some instances to $2,000 a month. Because it's like if you're in a specific area, and obviously if you're close to the downtown, in any major city, you're going to pay more money. So that's just how it goes. The average salary though for regular working people in Cincinnati, Ohio, ranges from $20,000 to $50,000. So that's why I said you have to equate all this stuff, because it's a lot to swallow, depending on your salary range and what you make on a regular basis, and now even the kind of revenues that you have after you've made your money, you paid your bills and all that good stuff. Revenue meaning money you have after all those things have been paid. It's hard to survive off of salaries that are low, like within 20s and 30,000s. Certain instances even $40,000 and $50,000, especially when people were and are used to rent prices being between $500 and $800. Gentrification is, in a sense, it's like the overall all crime rate in Cincinnati is at 118% higher than the national average. So that's why it was surprising that gentrification was actually taking place in a city like Cincinnati. And a buddy of mine I used to work with, he was telling me how it was, he was from Cincinnati. It was a really rough city. That's why he joined the military, just so he could get away and do something different. But he misses the lower cost of living compared to the DMV area. But you give something, you have to get something in life, you got to give up something. That's just the way it works. But it was pretty fascinating. But apparently the city has a major good comeback. So hey, more power to them. They have different industries coming in, things of that nature, newer industries. Because obviously it was an industrial city, and not so much no more. Just like most cities aren't anymore. So there's some sort of a comeback from economic perspective. And the interesting thing is, for every 100,000 people, there are about 16.43 daily crimes that occur in Cincinnati. So it's like I said, everything's not all good, and I'm not dumping on Cincinnati. Every major city has their crime rate, so I'm just speaking the facts here. And because a lot of people are wondering, like, well, how did Cincinnati become such a pride of joy for Ohio? Well, according to my research, and obviously you can do your own as well, the Development Corporation, better known as 3CDC, has invested or leveraged more than $500 million into the over the Rhine part of Cincinnati, buying and basically restorating 131 historic buildings and building about 48 new buildings at the same time. So a lot of development going on while maintaining subsidized housing. So they're trying to ensure that they can keep some sort of affordable housing within the city, so they can try to keep the authenticity of the city. Because the saddest thing about a lot of major cities nowadays is that they're losing their authenticity because of gentrification. So if this is actually happening, I commend these developers that are doing this, trying to keep working people in the city. Because a lot of people don't want to live in the suburbs. They don't want to live in a small, boring town. They want to live where there's some action going on. They can go outside and walk to the store, But that's another story for another day. And they've been doing a great job, rehabilitating parks, driving out criminals, especially with cameras. And that's one thing me and a buddy of mine was talking about the other day. People that commit crimes nowadays, we live in a society where there's cameras everywhere. With cell phones, et cetera, and so forth. So the chances of you getting away with a crime is literally slim to none. But that's another story for another day. Excuse me. Apologies for my yawning. Been a long day, but the show must go on. The show. So anyways, they got more cameras, they got better lighting, they've been closing down, I guess, certain liquor stores, which is a good thing. Not the fact that people losing their jobs and losing their business. But, no community needs to have a liquor store on every freaking corner. Let's just call it what it is. So that's just my personal opinion. And they've been developing on a lot of vacant lots. Okay, so those are some of the things, not all, because I'm sure there's way more than what I just covered in regards to Cincinnati that's going on. And hey, I wish them continuous prosperity with today, tomorrow, and continuously in the future. So keep up the good work, Cincinnati, Ohio. Now, we move to another city within the heart of the Midwest, good old Chicago, Illinois, as they call Chi-Town. Okay, real cold, the whole nine, but yeah, I know Chicago's got a lot of great things. I got a buddy of mine that's from there, and he's always talked great things about it. Even in the city's darkest times, he's always had nothing but great things to say about Chicago. So let's get to it. The wonderful city of Chicago. Now, the average salary for Chicago residents ranges from about $25 to $63,000 a year. Okay. Now, the average rent for an apartment in Chicago, depending on the area, obviously, is about it's turned into about $1,900, which is a month, which is a 6% increase compared to the previous year. Now, when the average rent was about $1,800 a month, so you see the increase right there. And the average cost for a Chicago, Illinois apartment numbers, they vary greatly depending on the apartment type and the area. Studio apartments can range from $700 to for a one-bedroom apartment, $1,000. 2 bedrooms, 3-bedroom apartments ranges from $1,100 to $2,000 a month. It's depending on the area that you live in. Now, in some areas of Chicago, so for the locals that are from there, don't beat me up. Some areas of Chicago, you can find an area for rent from $700 for a 2-bedroom, maybe even $500 for a 1-bedroom. But at times, they are not in the best neighborhoods to be in. Like, one thing I do like about the Midwest is they got some of the best prices in regards to cost of living. But obviously, when it comes to salaries, whole different story. And then another thing is, obviously, if you practice group economics, then you don't even have to worry about that nonsense because you're creating your own opportunities. But that's a different story for a different day. So especially since Chicago has a lot of crazy gun violence, a lot of areas are just considered, very distressed areas, unfortunately. And current price data shows that the average price for a 1-bedroom in Chicago is running about $1,500 per month. It's a $60 increase from January. I don't consider it to be too big of an increase, but for some people, depending on their financial situation, it could be very significant, and I'm not downing that. So it's one of those, it is what it is with the increase happening this past January. And when the rental market typically cools off, prices may stay stagnated or it might go down. You just never know. The housing market is very unpredictable right now, and who knows which way it's going to swing. So especially given the fact that you have a lot of millennials that are not trying to buy houses because of the student loan crisis and credit card debt crisis and all that good stuff. So people just can't afford or they just don't want the responsibility of owning a home. And guess what? I'm not mad at them, because if you don't want something, then don't do it. You don't have to always conform to what society tells you have to do. So, like I said, at the end of the day, it all ranges from the areas that you live in. Of course, it's all about location. Now, bear in mind the national average it costs to raise a family in the United States is about $50,000 a year. And for a single person, it costs for about, go with $15,000 to $20,000 a year. As far as just to live off of, obviously I'm not talking about salaries, but just money for you to actually live on a day-to-day basis a year, so it all bears in mind, depending on one person's situation. Because hey, if you don't have a car note, if you don't have a mortgage to pay and no rent to pay, then hey, you can make a certain amount of money stretch. We don't have to worry about those major things. But different story for a different day. So Chicago is and the positive thing about Chicago, because, everybody usually always focuses on the negative when it comes to Chicago and a lot of major cities. Chicago has one of the world's largest and most diversified economies, with more than 4 million employees and generating an annual gross regional product for about over $609 billion. The city is an efficient economic powerhouse, contrary to popular belief, home to more than 400 major corporate headquarters, including 36 in the Fortune 500s. So it's one of amongst the most diverse economies out there. It's just one of the ways to look at it within a nation, So Chicago is a key player in every sector, from risk management, innovation, to manufacturing, to information, technology, health services. They even still have a strong manufacturing base. Even with a lot of the jobs going overseas, they've done a good job of holding on to that. So more power to them, and they've got, they're getting into the technology business, healthcare services. So hey, keep up the good work, Chicago. Like I said, they always get nothing but negative flack, so you're going to get some positive flack from Larry Patterson. So that's all I can say from Larry's Anything Goes. So I'll leave it at that. Now, last but not least, we're going to go to the Motor City, Motown, Detroit, or as the locals used to say, what up, though? But definitely last but not least, the city of Detroit. And look, the city of Detroit has gone through a lot of economic and political turmoil for a long time. I'm not one to say that it's all cookies and creams when it comes to Detroit. But like I said, every major city has its dark past. No major city is perfect. They've all had corrupt politicians. They've all had their issues. So nobody gets a pass. And I leave it at that. They've all had their ups and downs, but in the mid 2000s, before the Great Recession, poverty and vacant houses went up about 30 to 40%. Double the national average. So it was pretty scary. The number of vacant houses has gone from under $200 to $800, and the number of homeowners have dropped by significantly, 700, or roughly within a quarter. So, and that was obviously in the past. We're not talking about present day, because for the last 8 years, Detroit has been making a comeback, and that is a good thing. Especially the city has a lot of foreign investment, because we've had a lot of people come to the city and literally buy up property and land for cents on the dollar, or just nothing at all. Literally, I've seen properties that were at $5. Like you see that kind of stuff going on in Baltimore, Maryland right now. It's the same thing. The right people with the right mindset are buying up, and obviously the right amount of money and connections. They're buying up blocks with cents on the dollar, or for nothing. And remember, after 6 years from filing for bankruptcy protection, Detroit has achieved a financial feat that very few experts predicted could even occur. But at the end of the day, I can understand that some worry that growth is leaving. Could be worried that growth is leaving the city, Detroit residents behind. Because that's the thing I was talking about earlier. With growth comes pain, and sometimes when you see growth happen in a specific area, especially in a major city, a lot of times local residents who have been there for generations end up missing the boat, or end up not getting booted out because they can no longer afford to live in the city that's considered to be a prosperous area now. So with these opportunities, will these people end up left behind? I don't know. They say certain people are. That's what the experts are saying. And because another positive thing is Detroit shed about $7 billion of debt when it exited bankruptcy status. And officials from Detroit and the state of Michigan declared the city once again open for immediate investment. And there you have it on that one. As a matter of fact, one of the billionaires, owners of the NBA's Cleveland Cavaliers, has invested and allocated an estimated $5.6 billion in about 100 Detroit properties through his Bedrock real estate firm. So that tells you a lot's going on. Usually people with that kind of money don't invest in areas that they don't see potential. Even though Detroit, like other major cities, still has its problems, because they always will. But this kind of investment going on, that things are going to turn around. And if those who have been in these cities for generations and do not own properties or businesses, then your future might seem bleak, because we have always lived in, I've just noticed this within the last couple of years, owned or be owned society. So being at a job for a long time does not mean nothing, because you can't pass down a job. Renting an apartment or a house for 10 to 15 years means nothing, because you cannot pass that down, because you do not own it. I'm not saying this to be judgmental. I'm not saying this to say, hey, this is, you have to do this or else. I'm saying Those who produce the jobs and owns the land makes the decisions. That's it. I leave it at that. So this isn't a doom and gloom talking about, oh man, gentrification in the Midwest, it sucks, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is most people know that gentrification is happening in mostly major cities throughout the United States. And the people who are benefiting are the ones with the right mindset, the right connections, and obviously the right money. So if you've been in the area for your whole life and you do not own a piece of property and you're getting mad because the rent is going up, is it right? I'm not going to say it's right or wrong. I will say that it's just a capitalistic business way. And we live in a time where it's all about the Benjamins, baby. I hate to sound corny and whatnot and taking it back to the 90s, but I'm just keeping it real on that one. So those who are taking advantage of this opportunity in the cities that I just mentioned, keep up the good work, especially if you came up hard and they gave you the juicy energy to want to think outside of just having a job box. Then you get my respect, 2 thumbs up. And hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I would have covered a lot more information, but this video actually went a lot longer than I had planned. But just wanted to get down to the basics of the gentrification that's going on in the Midwest. And it's like it's happening all over the United States, and the players that are winning are the ones who own and the ones who have a lot of money. So you just got to figure out which category that you're in, and then you got to figure out which category do you want to be in the future. It's all about choices and it's all about action. And if you're around people that know more about the local sports team than they do about trying to get some money outside of a job, then you're around the wrong people, in my personal opinion. So on that note, please like the video, please share, and hey man, have a great weekend, all you guys, and thanks for the support, continued support, and keep doing what you're doing.